Hey everybody, it's Paul Franklin here. This is my favorite topic, West Coast country. The nuance of this style is timeless. Here we are in 2021, and it's still as popular today as it was back then. I cut my teeth on this. I was 8 years old when I first started playing, and my father bought me a Fender 400. I was armed with the Year For Me album, Buck Owens, and we went into Hawaiian lessons with that. And I learned a lot of other things first to be able to play this, but many of these are the first songs I learned to play as a kid. But I learned this style, most importantly, and that's what this lesson is about. I had the great opportunity of doing a duet record with Vince Gill and called Bakersfield. And on that record, we tackled that whole element of that region, the Bakersfield region, which was Merle Haggard, Tommy Collins, Wynn, Stewart, and all those. We chose mostly Buck Owens and Merle Haggard songs. There are several contributors, but mostly Ralph Mooney for that period. He came up with the initial style. Working with James Burton, James told me he showed up at the studio with banjo strings on his guitar. And he started, bending strings. Whoever the session leader was or the artist said, "Hey, Moon, can you play like James is playing his guitar?" When James is going like all this kind of stuff. And so Mooney started going, he started doing that simple kind of thing. And the style was born. Now from that style, during this period of when we chose to do Bakersfield, we thought, these are Monets, Rembrandts, Picassos. Why try to remake something that's great? You're only going to be second or third best at doing that. So what we decided to do was we looked at the overall period of music. As hit records do, they influence other cities that make music. So you had Buck Owens, Merle Haggard, and Wynn Stewart, these guys having hits on the West Coast. Well, artists in Nashville were going, "Hey, give me some of that West Coast sound," to whoever the steel player was on the record. In most cases, it was Buddy Emmons, Jimmy Day, some Pete Drake. And so the Nashville players also started doing things like this, putting those little snaps in their pedal. The influence of that period is largely Ralph Mooney and Jay McDonald. And then J.D. Manis came in and worked for Buck Owens in the late 60s. And Tom Brumley. Tom Brumley played with Buck and took Mooney's place, or Jay McDonald's place. Everything that you're going to learn in this lesson, this series, is not going to be just Ralph Mooney, but it's going to be Mooney influence. Let's put it that way. I'll talk about how the technique is done with the pedals, but it all started from the influence of James Burton and those banjo strings, the ability he had to bend strings. So prior to Mooney emulating the James Burton style, steel guitars were on records, in recordings in Nashville, and even on the West Coast, were playing like this. We were doing those kind of bends. But then Mooney, emulating James Burton, it all came in. Really funky, gritty. Let's get started. It's important to view the pedal techniques that are required to play this style. So that's where we'll go next.